Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here with Teclis and the High Elves, going to be taking on the Lizardmen. This is a matchup that a lot of people, including myself, consider relatively tough for the High Elves, so let's go ahead and take a look at the army composition I've brought here. We've got Teclis, he's got Net of Amontok, Enfeebling Foe, and Regrowth for the nets, healing, and single target debuff. Also got Potion of Troy and Bound Fiery Convocation, of course. Two Nobles on horses. Both these guys have anti-large armor piercing, great combat stats, very good tools against big dinos. We've got 3 units of Dragon Princes for that nice heavy cav. Dragon Princes, of course, are going to be very good against most Lizardmen infantry. We've just got 4 Spearmen for a nice cheap front line with 3 units of Archers and an Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, which is ranked up to rank 6, triple silver chevrons. This is to increase its refire rate and make it more accurate as well. You can see it's already popping off shots on Krokar. We're just going to keep it focused on him for the duration of the battle up until the point which he's gone. So because it has an increase to its refire rate, it's going to be pretty solid. For my opponent here, we've got a front line of 4 Saurus Warriors with an additional in the rear, a Skink Cohort. We've got Krokar, Skink Priest, Lore of Beasts up on an Ancient Stegodon, and a Skink Chief on a Pterodon. In addition, we've got some Chameleon Skinks here, and some more Chameleon Skinks way out on the far side. So right off the bat, I'm going to be pressuring immediately with my Dragon Princes here. My opponent doesn't have much mobility with which to counter me, so we're just going to immediately start to harassing. Didn't quite want to take that charge there, so pulling back away and just allowing my opponent to come up through the center. You can see Krokar is actually taking quite a bit of damage, and now we've got all 3 units of archers focused on him. And although High Elf archers don't have the best AP values, they have reasonable AP values at 3 AP, and they also have a pretty solid refire rate and very long range, which means they can target Krokar from a great distance away. We're going to be going ahead and dropping an Overcast Net of Amontok. I was hoping to maybe catch some Saurus, but we did at least catch Krokar and the Skink Priest here. The Krokar, the Skink Chief, importantly, is enough distance away from Teclis that he's not within range to shoot at him, which is very important. You can see Krokar's taking a ton of damage from the focus fire from all those units of archers and from the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, which is doing a surprising amount of damage right now. You can see Krokar already dropping below 3/4 HP. And we're going to be routed off relatively shortly. Meanwhile, we're doing the Alexander Elf thing and just bringing in Dragon Prince rear charges all across the line here. Going to be dropping that Bound Fiery Convocation as well. Right across this line of Saurus here, so we'll watch that as this beautiful Phoenix comes up here and roasts this line of Saurus. Doesn't do the most damage because Saurus have relatively decent armor, but a nice Flock of Doom for my opponent there, dragging down some hit points of a lot of the units in that pocket. But at this point, we've pretty much routed off Krokar. He probably will be taken out before he gets off the battlefield by the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. Relatively low, only 280 hit points. Let's see if that shot's able to take him down. Down to only 144, so one more shot right at the edge of the range does take Krokar down. That's going to be a severe blow to the balance power. You can see immediately the leadership of a lot of the Lizardmen units crumbling. We've routed a Saurus here with the Dragon Princes, and now it's time to turn our attention to this mainline engagement. My opponent honestly needed to bring in this Skink Priest Lore of Beasts to help get a terror out in this front line. If he were to have terror out of these Spearmen, he could then push through and get onto my archers with his Saurus, and then that would allow him to not have been shot up so severely. We've turned all the archers now to the Skink Chief, of course. He's the next best target. So just going to be kind of inundating the Skink Priest Lore of Beasts with the 2 Nobles, doing that nice anti-large armor-piercing damage, and now bringing around the Dragon Princes for one final rear charge here. This unit of Spearmen holding valiantly has taken quite a bit of damage, but here come the Dragon Princes delivering that punishing rear charge. Curse of Onraer going down, debuffing the melee attack and speed of all the units in this pocket, but it's not quite going to be enough to keep these Saurus alive. My opponent is also summoning up a Manticore here, which not quite going to be enough. Most of his regular forces are going to hit army losses at this point. That Skink Priest is rapidly taking damage from the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower and from the 2 Nobles. And yeah, the Saurus are all routed off at this point. It's just the Feral Manticore that my opponent has summoned up, which has gotten into the archers here. But my other 2 units of archers are just going to turn and fire. The Feral Manticore only has 45 armor, so he will take quite a bit of damage from that bow fire. We should be able to round things out relatively quickly here, so we'll go ahead and just fast forward as we finish off this Feral Manticore here. And yeah, well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that. We'll be taking a look at one more battle since that one was a little bit short, but I figured a lot of people tend to struggle with this matchup, and I wouldn't say that this build is necessarily the best. I don't think that my opponent's build was necessarily super competitive either. But that being said, I do think that this is a pretty effective build against the Lizardmen. You have the anti-large AP of the two nobles, this volume of fire concept with the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower and the archers taking down the high armor, high value dinos. Carnosaur specifically, shooting at Bastiladons or Stegodons is going to be a little bit more rough because they have more armor, but shooting at what are they? Carnosaurs, you know, Saurus Old Blood or Krokar or whoever riding a Carnosaur is going to be very effective. You can see my heavy cavalry here racked up a ton of kills, just cleaning up that front line of Saurus. In terms of the Lizardmen matchup, I would definitely recommend maybe a Slon in this matchup. Krokar can be good if you can protect him effectively, but he is a very large and expensive target. The Skink Priest Lore of Beasts is pretty decent. Lore of Heavens, I think, is maybe a little bit better here, just because it will help you drag away armor from your opponent with the Curse of the Midnight Wind, and Wind Blast is very good against low armor archers, for example. Saurus, a decent front line. You can't really go too wrong with Saurus. I do think you could cut one, though, and maybe just go a little bit wider with some Skink Javelins and so on, just to be able to really pressure my backline more effectively, just because this army, because it was so narrow, I was able to fix it in place with 4 units of spears, and then my specialty units kind of got the work done as needed. So, let's go ahead and jump to another replay here. And as you can see from the beginning card, this is indeed Balthazar Gelt, double Witch Hunter build. Going to be having a lot of fun. Balthazar Gelt, of course, going to be carrying Final Transmutation. We've got standard 4 units of Spearmen with Shields, a Swordsman, Sigmar Sons, 3 Reiksguard, one of which is the Zintler's Reiksguard, Royal Altar Cryphites, and 3 units of Pistoliers. A couple of them have chevrons to begin with. For my opponent here, he's got this unit of Hargonath Executioners with a chevron to begin with, and a Dragon with a chevron. Also has a Bolt Thrower, 3 units of Dark Shards with shields, and a Blackguard of Nagrond, 3 Dread Spears, Malekith, a Khainite Assassin, and a unit of Harpies. So, let's go ahead and see how things go. Pistoliers, honestly, Outriders may be a little bit better just because the Dark Elves tend to bring some pretty heavily armored infantry, but they also have some light armor units, more so I would say than the High Elves. So I do think that the Pistoliers are a pretty solid pick in this matchup. They can harass Dark Riders. They're going to be really good against artillery crews and the cheaper tier units like Dark Shards, Dread Spears, and so on. You can see a nice chill wind coming down immediately right at the start of the battle, debuffing the speed of these Pistoliers. We're going to pull up on station, and my primary target is going to be to take out this artillery crew. So you can see to that effect, we're going to be unloading these Pistoliers shots right into this artillery crew here. You can see my opponent immediately dropping a Blade Wind. Not going to do the most damage, but it did a solid amount of damage. These bolt throwers are also firing point blank, and the dragon decides to come down, so we need to go ahead and get those Pistoliers out of there. We also baited out a nice Gaze and Malice there from my opponent. Yeah, at this point, we're just going to go ahead and decide to advance. I'm pretty confident with the Reiksguard and with Balthazar and everything that we can win that frontline engagement fairly decisively, so we're just going to press forward all across the line, coming back around for another drive-by with these Pistoliers here as we pull up on station and start to lob off some shots. Another nice chill wind right on target from my opponent, debuffing my speed and doing a little bit of damage there, but you can see we actually blow up one of the artillery pieces, and the crew is super low at this point. We're able to just charge in and finish them off. So with my opponent's artillery advantage negated, we're going to be able to get quite a bit of work done. Let's see. The dragon does have 80 armor, but you can see the final transmutation being unleashed by the Supreme Patriarch himself. We'll get a nice cinematic shot of Balthazar casting this spell in the background here. Beautiful, beautiful man with that golden mask. Does get off that overcast final transmutation with a bit of a miscast, but no big deal. We're also going to be dropping that accusation as well. As soon as we get an opportunity, you can see this Witch Hunter's running over to apply that accusation. The dragon, since it's busy dealing with my Pistoliers on the far side, which is a very cost-effective use of the Pistoliers, even if they're just able to keep that dragon occupied, my opponent dropping another really nice chill wind right across the front line there, even catching that Witch Hunter with that, debuffing the speed. But you can see the Reiksguard running shop in the back line. We were able to get into the Dark Shards momentarily. This unit of Zintler's Reiksguard on the far side is trapped this unit of Harpies and is taking them down. The Khainite Assassin is taking a lot of damage there as well. You can see, yeah, these Hargonath Executioners got charged in the rear by these Reiksguard, and Malekith on foot is getting surrounded by the Reiksguard as well. Not long for this world, honestly. One more, what is it called? Accusation, and he should be off the battlefield. We've got both the witch hunters now shooting away at this dragon that's kind of parked up over the top of my army. He is going to try and come down on top of Balthazar with the dragon. If we could find Balthazar hidden behind a tree here, but we're immediately going to pull in with the Royal Altdorf Griffites, and my opponent did catch him with a chill wind, but we're able to get on top of the Black Dragon and pin it into place, and these Royal Altdorf Griffites, of course, will do a ton of damage to the dragon, and causing terror themselves. They are immune to psychology. We're able to wrap up the backline fairly effectively. A lot of the Dark Shards getting shut down by Reiksguard charges, and the Pistoliers kind of standing back, giving me a nice rear line presence here as well. And now that most of my opponent's armor-piercing troops are cleaned up, we're going to be able to now bring in the Reiksguard to start cycle charging his infantry, so we'll soak up some cinematic action. There's a beautiful Reiksguard charge right into these Blackguard of Nagaron and the Hargoneth Executioners that are fighting in this pocket here. Absolutely brutal combat here. You can see those Blackguard of Nagaron, although they are very heavily armored infantry, just can't stand up to the leadership hit at that point. Malekith had gone down to a accusation, so another short battle, but a fun one nonetheless. I know some of you guys are big fans of Balthazar Gelt, and personally I've been loving playing the Empire lately. I think there's a lot of different directions you can go with them, and they're a lot more dynamic than people give them credit for. Karl Franz is competitive, Gelt is competitive, Boris is, as always, competitive in certain situations as well. Even Volkmar himself is good in some matchups. I would say all the Empire Legendary Lords at the moment have different niches that they will excel in. I do think Balthazar, if you're prepared for him, is probably the most easily counterable. The Dark Elves are the one faction that I think would have the hardest time, just because they lack really decent mobility. I mean, they have Dark Riders, which are kind of subpar light cavalry. They're good with the repeater crossbows, but the melee variants I find a little bit underwhelming. They are relatively cheap, but then the Cold One Knights are good in certain situations, but they lack the model count to really punish certain units, and they are up too slow to catch Balthazar. So I do think that Balthazar, against the Dark Elves, especially if you take him on the ground where you can protect him with the Royal Altdorf Griffites like I did there, a relatively safe pick, and we were able to take out Malekith without too much trouble there. I don't know if he actually went down or if he just routed from low HP, but both the Witch Hunters and Balthazar being key in that aspect, we're also able to do a lot of damage to the Black Dragon, which did manage to pick up another XP chevron through the course of the battle, as did this unit of Hargoneth Executioners. Definitely cut through a lot of my infantry, but the Reiksguard coming through clutch there. Lots of getting into the rear line and rear charges and so on. 71, 72, and 80 kills. Only 16 kills on the Royal Altdorf Griffites, but they helped deal with that dragon, which was their primary role. The Pistoliers being very cost effective in knocking out that artillery piece and keeping that dragon occupied for a long time while that mainline engagement got underway. So well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching those two legendary caster battles. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'm keeping it coming with more Total War Warhammer 2 content every single day, so stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time.